Is something gonna hit record?
Okay, thanks, guys. Does anybody know if Mark is on tonight? Has anybody heard from Mark? Oh. Just before we get. Anyway, okay, so we'll bring this meeting to order, and can we start the roll call, please, with Wait,
Wayne Ranowitz.
Joseph Adeletta.
Doug Porter,
Dean Gould.
David Morse.
Aaron Parvo.
Joe Polulik.
Amy Monahan.
Great, thank you very much. We'll assign, designate Dwight and Amy as the alternates today. Then we'll move to the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, so now we will move directly into the public hearing. Welcome, this is on the,
I think you have to wait till 7:45.
it wasn't
It wasn't noticed.
notified at 7:45 in the notes, so the next one we did note 7:45. So this is for application, public hearing for application 665-07-25, special permit for change of use. 326 Route 169. MBL number 5779-64-22A. CD zone applicant Anthony Shabbat. Right now, we'll first, for the proceeding of this public hearing, we'll let Mr. Shabbat explain what he wants. And then the commissioners will have their comment time, ask questions, then we'll open it to public for comments. And then we'll proceed from there.
Do you
So-
have to read the notice?
Do I have to read the notice?
I believe you have to say that it was publicly noticed.
Oh, yeah, okay. It was publicly noticed.
It was, if I might, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, John.
So it was noticed 2 times by a newspaper in the Shopper's Guide, both on the 12th and the 19th of August, 2025.
Okay. And all the mailings were done?
Yep, Mr. Shabbat submitted copies of his certificates of mailing. They're for the record, they're in the agenda packet that was mailed out.
I have all them here. So everything else was done. Now we can move forward. Mr. Shabbat, do you want to explain what you want to do here?
Sure. My goal is to, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, my goal is to turn the front of the building that you can see from the street into an office space in the, on the, it's a little bit up, but it's basically there's a basement, there's a first floor, a second floor, and a third floor. So basically on the first floor, I just want to have an office space from the far left of the building to the far right of the building. And then behind that, I want to have a 1-bedroom apartment. And then on the second and third floor, a 3-bedroom apartment.
I have a quick question. Are you, in the application, it says the owner is Jessica Booth. Are you still the owner, or has that been sold, the property been sold?
I have the property under agreement. Jessica Boos is the owner, and it was listed on the market, and I submitted an offer on it. And so I've been working with Jessica. We both submitted the special permit request with signatures together. And I paid for it, and I did all the other stuff with the sign and all the mailings, with the certified mailer or the certificate of mailing. And I met with John a couple of times about it, and now I'm here, but she's available if we have any questions. I'm sure I could get some feedback from her if we need her input.
Jessica is here.
Oh, okay.
And so if I might, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
So just for the record, John Guskowski, town planner. Yeah, I did meet with Mr. Shabbat. And the way that this application is proceeding, it's a special permit for change of use because one of the uses, or two, I would say two of the uses that are being proposed, there's actually 3 uses being proposed that are all allowable in the community district, being residential, a principal residence, an accessory apartment, and then the use of the storefront as retail and office. The most recent use was retail. So it's really the addition or shifting to office, which necessitates this special permit because a residential use is as of right, an accessory apartment is as of right, but converting a essentially previous retail use to retail, office, and multifamily would, or not multifamily, I'm sorry, two dwelling units triggers the special permit. But as far as I am aware, and on the application, no external changes are proposed to the building, no expansions, no demolition, no changes are proposed to ingress or egress or any parking.
That's correct.
Is there adequate parking? I didn't.
Yes, there are 4 parking spots directly behind the building. There's 1 parking spot in front of the building, and then there are 5 deeded parking spots in the adjacent parking lot during business hours.
Okay.
So total of 10.
Anybody else have any other
Yeah,
questions?
Is this building attached to the town sewer?
My understanding is that it is, and it's connected to a shared well as well.
That confirmed?
Yes,
Okay.
confirmed. Although, Joe, it is not currently attached
That's what.
To what?
to the sewer. Because none of the plumbing and the interior exists.
Is there a line going to the building?
Is there a lateral that steps up? You're using words I don't understand. So it's allowed to be connected to the sewer, like it was in the past. Somebody pulled out all the plumbing, some previous owner, and not the person who owned it before me, somebody before her.
Okay, so there's a lateral coming from the house to the sewer line.
Sure.
It's just that the plumbing inside the house is not. Okay.
So as a follow-up then, is the plan to hook up to the sewer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Joseph?
Yes, the drawings that came in the packet show a floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, and floor 4. And I was looking to see where you indicated would be the offices in the front, and I don't see that delineated on the drawings here. Unless I'm
Those are the
missing-
large 2 windows on the front of the building. Just that space right there.
So it's identified as the living room on the drawing.
Oh, let's see here. Yeah, where it bows out right there, basically from that where the stairs starts.
Can you see it? I put the floor plan on the screen. Hopefully people can see that.
So on the upper left, that's the first floor. And then see where there's,
It's called floor 2 on the drawing.
oh yeah,
Sure.
because right on those drawings, the basement's always floor 1. So on floor 2, which is actually floor 1, there's where the icon is, where the pointer is right there. That's the left bowed window. And then there's the right bowed window. That would be the office space right there. And it would be separated. See the staircase on the right side of that right there. So the bottom side of that staircase would be the wall that would be the back wall of the office.
I think it would be helpful to have a drawing for the file that shows whatever wall is intended to separate the office from the living area in the back, and then change the words living room to office space.
Okay, this was just,
Plan.
this, I understand. This
All
floor
of that
plan
will
was-
be required. All of that will be required for the building permit, obviously.
Well, we're trying to approve a special permit, so I just want to make sure that there's enough information on the record to show that the office space is identified and we know what the office space is that will be shown at some point on drawings in the file.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But from the bottom of the staircase all the way across the left, that would be the back wall of the office.
Do you intend for one office space or two?
It would just be one office.
Any other questions from the commission?
Just want to check, normally we check with the CEO to make sure that the CEO is satisfied that the paperwork is completed, bills are paid, and the land use office has what it needs for.
Yep. Yeah, so for the record, John Guskowski as CEO, the fee has been paid, the application was complete, the notification went to the newspaper, notification went to abutters, and signs were posted. So we are satisfied that this is a valid application.
Any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, we'll open it to the public. Just a quick note. Speak, we're gonna give you like 3 minutes, if you wish to speak. Give everybody a chance to speak. Then afterwards, if you want to speak again, you can, but try to make it be on a different subject than you previously spoke. You have to, please stand up and state your name for the record so that we have that on file. And so are there comments from the public?
Yes, I have a question and a comment all at the same.
Yes.
time. My name is Patricia Garza.
Yes.
They stated there's 10 available parking spots there. Is that correct in saying 10?
So as he said, on the deed, should I say, sorry, Jessica Weaver Booth, current owner. As he said, on the deed to the building next door, the grayish blue one, not the dark gray one. On that deed, it states that 5 parking spaces in that parking lot driveway belong to the business built to the pink building during business hours. So those are the like extra 5. I haven't, yes, and I also haven't like zoned it out exactly for what it is.
Okay.
But he was saying 4 in the back and 1 in the front.
That's also, that
So-
was one of my questions, is the concern of the safety of accidents with that one parking spot in the front.
So historically, there used to be 4 parking spots in the front. If people parked in front,
4 parking spots.
yep, people park, so if the building goes this way and 169 goes this way,
Mhm.
people parked this way,
Yes,
historically. All the time.
okay,
They haven't especially since the pandemic, they haven't in years because the building has not been in use in years.
okay.
But that happened, and to my knowledge, accidents didn't with anybody parked there.
Correct.
But
Well,
we, in the work that we did, of taking down 2 additions that had been made over the years to the original building, there were more parking spaces created
in the back,
in the back.
okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have I guess
Well,
Jessica.
you can direct the questions to me. and then
Okay.
we'll-
All right, I'm Shelley Martell. I live right there in the right house. But I was just questioning the parking spaces because I don't necessarily have a parking space in that big parking lot, but kind neighbors have always let me park. I own part of the right of way from 171. That's an apartment that I own. So I'm just concerned, or I'm just questioning like where, like right behind the building. The 4 other,
So,
Please suggest, yes.
okay, so first of all, this is an old picture. because the additions are still on it. And,
This is a 2023 aerial photo.
right, thank you, John.
Mhm.
So, like I said, the additions are still on it. If you look, the top roof, which I think you can pick out, is sort of all that's there. The rest of the bottom L is gone. And Shelley's line is actually over a little more because she owns half of each of the, well, half of that driveway. Half of the driveway that's closest
Yeah,
to your house,
yeah.
she owns. So with that, with the additions gone, you can park,
Like that, but like facing the house?
yes, facing the house. So you know, there's the ramp.
Yeah.
So you can park facing the house, at least two, like I said, I haven't pasted out to understand the 4 Tony sees. And you actually can park one parallel to the ramp that stays out of the driveway. Cause that I have done. So,
Okay, yeah, I was just curious where, like, if it was like right behind the building or,
yeah,
okay.
cause I purposely parked that way one time to just make sure it was safe.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just wanna, while the picture is still up, ask if Jessica might identify some of the buildings. She said she owns the gray one, not the blue-gray one, and if you.
Okay, so this is Shelley's house.
Shelley.
Shelley, who just stood up.
Shelley.
Shelley, that's Shelley. Meet Shelley. She's fantastic. This is the blue gray that I used to live in, that has been sold. And then this is
Yeah.
what I'm calling the pink. These lines aren't exactly right. This one moves over here. It's pretty much halfway, splits this driveway in half. And these all move forward because while the state does own a tiny corner of the building, it's only a tiny corner. It's up there.
Right. Yeah, the parcel lines, the yellow line is not considered definitive. This is, you know,
Right.
good enough for GIS. It's not a property survey.
So, and this is gone, and this is gone.
And Shelley's house has parking available where?
Here, she, and we've always let her park here. And then this goes, you can't actually even see all the parking lot. It goes over a little bit more.
That gray here, is that asphalt or building?
Yeah, this is asphalt.
Oh, all right,
This is all asphalt.
okay. Oh,
And this line is also wrong, so the asphalt goes over further that way.
thank you.
You can also come up here.
Any other citizen comments? Hearing none. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll go back to the commissioners. Any additional comments?
Move that the public hearing be closed. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. There. Now we can go on to our next, care report. Thank everybody for being here. And you did a great job on the minutes. Thank you. So we will move forward. Citizen comments. Meeting minutes from August 7th. We have a chance to review them.
Move to approve the meeting minutes for the August 7th meeting.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Yes, Joseph.
I don't have them in front of me, but I think, the comment where it said, Joe Palulik suggested looking at the town website for affordable housing plan. I don't want to take credit away from Joe, but I think it was this Joe that made the comment. Do you see that, Donna?
I'll find it.
Okay. So it was on the second page. Other than that, no other comments.
Okay, all in favor of accepting minutes? Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
Any abstentions? Okay.
I'll abstain.
Moving on to new business, don't have any new business at the moment, old business, come to the application of the special permit for the change of use. I have a motion,
Make a motion to approve the application for the change of use, special permit, with the conditions of getting the drawings updated to show office space.
do you have a second?
One second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Okay, now we go on to the discussion of multi-housing,
Okay.
multifamily housing regs. John
Sure.
provided.
So I just
us-
want to say to Mr. Shabbat, you're all set. I'll send you out your notice of approval on Monday.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Okay.
John does several from Hampton and
Columbia.
and Columbia. Several multifamily regulations, multifamily housing regulations for us to look at and consider. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at them and read them through. Do we have?
So, yeah, these are
Go
just,
ahead, John.
yeah, no, so, for the record, John Guskowski. Yeah, I just in terms of getting conversation started, a couple of sets of zoning regulations that I've worked on in the last couple of years relative to multifamily. Hampton took a somewhat more conservative approach. It's a little bit like Woodstock's, which is to say, there is a minimum area, although in the case of Woodstock, in the case of Hampton, it's only 3 buildable acres with 150 feet of frontage, or on a rear lot with 6 acres and a 25-foot strip. The density is a sliding scale for smaller lots. It's a dwelling per acre for a 3 to 6 acre parcel. And it's important to note that 1 acre per unit is basically twice the density of a single family residence in Hampton, which is a 2 acre town. And then 1.5 units per acre. So you increase the density if you have a larger parcels over 6 acres. Maximum number of dwelling units as part of a development would be 16. And no individual structure shall have more than 4. So we're talking relatively small, either townhouse style or a sort of a 4-plex, 2-story apartment. There is also a provision for conversion of existing larger structures. So, some of these big old, mansions or Victorians with more than 4,000 square feet are able to be converted by a special permit. This whole thing is special permit to 6 dwelling units. And then it sort of goes on from there, height, setbacks. We have separate setbacks for larger lots and smaller lots. Impervious surface and some open space per. But so it's relatively formulaic, relatively straightforward, and fairly conservative. It's relatively low density. That's one example. The other example that I thought the commission might be interested in is from where is it? Columbia. Did this shift? Do you now see where it says multifamily housing 52-719?
Yes.
Okay. So this was a fairly progressive approach taken by the town of Columbia, which it sets a minimum acreage. We start up with a bunch of definitions and basic standards, but it sets a 150,000 square foot baseline, which is about 3.5 acres. with 50 feet of frontage. And it basically lifts the cap off of density. Columbia, unlike Woodstock, has absolutely no sewer lines whatsoever, and no public water lines whatsoever. So everything is private well, private septic. But it basically said, if you've got the acreage and appropriate soils, you can build it out. You know, if you've got 10 acres and it's beautiful soils, you could get 50, 60, 70 units on it, as long as the health department agrees. However, once you do that calculation, do that soil testing, and you establish what essentially the reasonable cap is, probably for a number of bedrooms, based on public health codes. You can only achieve that 100% density if you set aside 20% of those units as affordable, and affordable at 80% of the area median income. If you don't set aside, if it's an entirely market rate development, then your density is basically 70% of that maximum that the health department would determine. So let's say you got 10 beautiful acres, you're doing 100, but you're not setting any of them aside as affordable. So now your maximum density is 70. And that's how that regulation is set up. And you have to submit the affordability plan and that sort of thing. And so that's where the market rate yield is there. And then there's landscaping and maintenance and some other regulations. But the big headline there is essentially density is only determined by your soils and your willingness to set aside some of the properties for affordability. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about the development of either of these or some of the details, but I just wanted the commission to sort of start thinking about different regulatory approaches.
Do we have any comments from the commission?
I've got one, just for ha-has. Has Columbia had one that had 100% density proposed yet?
It's a good question. No. This was just passed about 9 months ago, and we haven't had any applications yet. We're trying to spread the word among larger property owners, and I do suspect we're going to get one in the next 2 or 3 months. A property owner has a little pond and has always wanted to do a little cluster housing around the pond, and I suspect he's going to be submitting anytime now. But I don't think he's interested in affordability. He's got a big piece and he really only wants to do like maybe 8 units. He could very easily do dozens. So he's gonna limit himself.
Yeah.
So the Columbia regulations are more accessible to cluster housing versus the Hamptons because they have the minimum size for the acreage, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's really no design guidelines. You could do townhouses, you could do all in one big building, you could do little cottages all over the place. Yeah, we wanted to be as flexible as possible and let sort of the property owner developer kind of configure it the way they wanted to and respond to the market.
Would we be able to lay in open space in addition to the Columbia regulations? So you have like the density clusters, but
Oh, of course. Sure.
Regulation?
Sure. And I didn't put in let me see. We went back and forth on density and open space in this regulation. Let me just see. There is a landscaping plan requirement in which, to demonstrate sufficient buffering between the landscape and adjacent properties, showing, landscape plantings and things like that. But yeah, no, I mean, that's very easily put in, so you could do that density. You could say, take your buildable area, subtract 20%, we'll set that aside. And then, you can do your maximum density on the 80% remaining, for instance. You could certainly do that.
Do we have any other comments? Yes.
I would suggest we take a different approach to looking at multifamily in Woodstock. We have a variety of multifamily already here. And I'm not sure, but I think it's in the inventory of materials of what. I think it would be worthwhile for us to look at photos of those projects. Look at site plans of those projects and say, what do we like and what we don't like, before we just grab onto some regulations from another town. We have some very successful multifamily projects in town. Cornfield Point comes to mind, Woodstock Meadow comes to mind. And there are a number of smaller apartment buildings that are also successful. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of regulations, what do we like of what's existing? And how then do we get our regulations to encourage that type of development? Versus just saying, we're gonna allow 2 units for every 6 acres. I can tell you, no one's building 2 units on 6 acres. The economics just aren't there. So that's my suggestion, is that we take a look at our inventory of properties as a group and say, what do we like and what do we do them? Does it mention, Joseph, how much acreage is in Cornfield Point?
I was coincidentally looking that
Thank you.
up and know that, well, at least on vision appraisal.
I couldn't find it on Vision earlier, so.
None of the condominiums listed in this report indicated acreage.
Yeah.
It was only the apartment buildings. And then, it was interesting, duplexes are not listed here. It's, there are apartments and condominiums, but duplexes aren't here.
That's my
But I think
suggestion.
this is good too.
But I mean, that's great. I mean, we're just in the start of this, so.
Right.
It's one of those things that bothers me. I developed the Beaches property. I think it was just under 50 acres. 2 acres, I put 16 homes in Woodstock. I had 2 acres in Putnam, exact same topography, the exact same soils and things like that. But because it was in Putnam and it had a different zoning, was able to put six condominiums on that property. Now, yes, it did have access to the sewers, but I probably could have put septic systems in because the soils are very well drained. It's a gravel pit.
Yeah.
It's amazing that on the same parcel, just where that municipal boundary, one side had, what was that? 3 units per acre, and the other one had, 2 acres per unit. Everyone's fine, everyone's happy, no one's dying. It's not like we've created an environmental issue, but it's how your zoning allows you to have more affordable housing. I'm not saying the condos are affordable, but that is one way that you can have a variety of housing available to your residents.
Yeah, can I?
Sure.
Think that we're not gonna have affordable housing unless somebody can put enough units in to make it profitable to have a certain percentage affordable.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that on 6 units.
6 units is real tough.
Yeah, to make it once. I mean, so we have to.
What's the magic number for units roughly, if you're trying to do affordable, what would?
Well, I don't
What would
know.
be a guess? You don't
I don't know
know?
affordable. On condominium projects, the management fees for just 6 units, thank God everyone gets along very well. And there isn't any issues back and forth, but it's hard to find someone to manage just 6 units. I think you start getting to 15 or 20, where all of a sudden you can hire someone to manage it.
I think John has the,
So I just did a rough outline of Cornfield Point. It's about 42 acres with that I outlined here. I'm not sure how many units are, but I think Doug's point is good. And I can prepare a little bit of a presentation, a spreadsheet, indicating with a couple of pictures and relative densities of the various multifamily. If you guys want, I mean, obviously, Doug, you mentioned, and I would think of those as well, Cornfield, Woodstock Meadows. I mean, even something like the senior housing, Roxbury Village, at least gives you a sense of multifamily in a setting. And we can give little comparative densities of each of those.
Most of those are laid out in the affordable housing plan with pretty much detail, correct, to view at? Yeah.
Yes, and I'll.
Okay, so we could just pull that.
Go online, it is on the town website, on
Yeah.
the affordable housing plan, and it's got pictures. And it's got a listing of all the current condominium units and all the apartments, again, not duplexes. And just as a point of reference, the affordable housing, the new Roxbury Village, it has 24 units. It's comprised of 6 buildings and it's on 4.6 acres. So,
With sewer.
but that's managed by
With
the
sewer.
Putnam Housing Authority,
Doug, how many units are at Cornfield Pike?
Cornfield, I think.
37.
Okay, I was thinking Woodstock Meadows, is Woodstock Meadows 50 something,
It's not Meadows.
56 here? And what's unique, and there's something to be said about allowing the market to do things and not regulate everything, but it's unique. At Cornfield Point, how so much is set aside in open space on the lakeside. So when you're on the lake, you really don't notice Cornfield Point, and you notice it when you drive by, but it's a very pleasant setting. They didn't mandate open space requirements then. The site probably dictated it, but
It was developed before the regulations were.
the other one that, we hear a lot of comments about 4 units or 6 units and try to keep the size of them. How many here lived in an apartment?
Yes.
The first apartment I lived in, well, I had some pretty nice ones in Putnam, so they were pretty tough. But we lived in Sturbridge and, I think it was 6 units. It was great. You know, that's where Gail and I started. Of course, now there's probably 100 units there. It's right on Old Hall Road as you go from 131 over going towards Walmart and that direction. They filled it in a lot, but I know I'm not sure what street it is that comes down from the Thompson Dam crosses and goes below National Chromium. What street is that?
It's just the next, oh.
What is the number?
Peak.
Is it Peak
Peak.
River? Yeah, there's I think a 6 unit there, and every time when I ride my bicycle down there, there's a lot of local people living there that are thrilled to probably be in Woodstock. I always worry whether it's Woodstock or Putnam, but I think it's Woodstock. I believe. I think we just have to be looking at providing opportunities for other type of housing than just single families.
And there used to be like larger colonial buildings that were apartments. When I was a kid, the one next to Foskett, that big one right there, that had like 5 apartments or something in it, and then someone bought it, it had money and put it back into like a single use, but. I think there's a lot of older farmhouses where families don't have 11 kids anymore that could be divided up into 3 or 4 apartments too. So that, I think looking at refurbishing is key to.
East Woodstock, we had the Sunshine House.
Yeah.
Was that 4 units?
4 units on 1 acre.
1 acre. Yeah. And then Mays House, the original homestead for the Mays, I think that had 4 units in it. It was a house and then converted into apartments, and then it was converted back to a house. I just think we need to look at all those options before we start pulling regs and saying we're gonna have
All of the rational
6
decision making
acres.
process.
Yeah.
The old tavern by the academy's got apartments in it too, doesn't it?
Well, so like a separate consideration is, you don't have to do a one omnibus set of regulations. You could certainly look at that larger, older home conversion as a relatively low hanging fruit in terms of, retrofitting those. And as one step, and then, larger, green built developments could be a different thing entirely.
The building code's gonna put restrictions on it, on things also. Of
course.
It becomes over, I think the exception is up to 4 units. I may be wrong, John, you have to have sprinklers. And that makes a difference. So that's why you'll see a lot of things are done as duplexes. And
Yeah.
you'll see them separated because if you're 30 feet away, you don't have to meet that sprinkler requirement. But that's just my suggestion. Start.
Then we'll also have the Department of Health, septic system, septic fields.
Woodstock is again unique. We have a variety of soil conditions, as clearly as you know, up on hills are the worst soils. And as you get down into the valley, those are very well drained soils. You'd be surprised at how many units you could put on some well drained soils in the valley areas. Whereas you'd struggle up on the hills to put one unit.
With spring's coming up.
Yeah. But if John could put some of that information in a format, and you can take it from the available.
Can you do that, John, for some of the drawings?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it seems like the affordable housing plan, and I forgot about that section of it. Provides a pretty good start. We can pull that out and add some more data to it. Certainly.
Great. Right now, let's move on to the, are we all done with this? Anybody else have any more comments on the multifamily housing? We'll move on to the POCD updates. John sent us a kind of a vision, a couple paragraphs of the view that draft the vision statement. I don't know if you guys got a chance to read it, but it was think about it, kind of scroll that on my computer and I can't just use it whole, but
So yeah, so this is again just a first shot and working with the POCD subcommittee. Obviously Amy is involved and Joe Blulick is involved. This is sort of the direction they wanted to go and sort of step back, take a big picture approach and what do we want Woodstock to be, bottom line. And so I drafted this first shot. Joe Blulick had some nice wordsmithing, so this reflects his commentary as well as some of Amy's thoughts. And we'll bring this up with the subcommittee, and I think the next step is after we sort of finalize this language, establish kind of an outline that we can and a framework that we can start filling out. But I'm happy to take any thoughts on this.
do we have any comments from the commissioners? Joseph?
I thought it was a nice one-page vision statement for the POCD. And I'm just going through again because okay, never mind. I was gonna say it didn't say anything about open space, but here I see on the notes, right up there to
We would
protect.
never forget that, so.
Thanks, Andy. All right.
Sit on that committee, give
Yeah.
me some credit.
Any more comments on that? Let me come back to home occupations. Were there any, I didn't see any in the,
No, there were no home occupation applications.
yeah, and one other thing was brought to my attention on that special permit. When I asked you, John, if it met I assume that you went through all the permit decisions that are in the guidelines in the zoning regulations with the thing. Because we didn't go step by step through them in the.
Oh, in the decision criteria for special permits?
Yes.
I mean, I reviewed it. If you like going forward in the future, we can establish sort of a rubric with you. But yeah, and I mean, it's yes. And again, this is a slightly simpler special permit because again, nothing is being built externally, nothing is visually changing. It's, internal to the building and uses that have already been in play in that facility over the years. It's been a residence, it's been an office, it's been a retail. So there's really nothing new under the sun there. So, drainage reports, traffic reports, lighting, things like that are not really relevant, but yeah. But if you'd like going forward as a commission to go through that rubric together, certainly we could do that.
This is my first public hearing I've run since I've been chair, so.
I really do not want, as a commission, to go through each one of those items. So, yeah, John, I would think if we could get the template made up, so our motion says we approve it and that it meets the conditions as shown, whatever the
Right.
section is that you're
That's,
reading,
yes,
that would be
Okay.
great.
Sure, we can do that.
Very
that
difficult.
makes more sense. We don't need to go through them. If John has done it, and can attest that it's all done.
And part of the motion is that the commissioners can say they reviewed it, and if they have any comment, that's the time to do it, but to read off.
Yeah.
All of those just makes these meetings go longer and longer, and I don't think there's any net gain.
But
Commissioner, well, our commissioner is familiar with how many conditions are there? Just, you read about 10.
I just think that if we have a template and it goes through and we can review it and
If a commissioner has an issue with any, bring it up,
And not to be argumentative,
but
but
you're going to.
but I'm going. Given that it is a special permit and we are trying to do it in a procedural manner, even though it's kind of out of sequence, I would really suggest the chair read through the conditions and just allow the commissioners to hear what they are, and we just say yes or no, we agree that they are fitting in with the special permit, and it's part of our regulations to do this, so just want to make sure we're compliant.
okay, so we'll do it this time. But I think in the future, if we have a template where I don't think we need to read through them every meeting. If they're John knows they're there and he says they meet them and we can go through them and see them. Like, do we need to read every time, read through them all? Or if it's in the application?
I would defer to what the regulations say. Since you have that there.
So this was my first time doing this, obviously, and I had pulled them up and printed them out and I started going through them before coming, but they really didn't apply to this application. I think if it was something that did apply to like the open space or a lot of those things, and I was going through and it was like NA, I think it's our responsibility as commissioners to prepare ourselves for that, and I think that in this particular situation, that would have been a complete waste of time and energy to read through, but
I listened to Joseph, I know what he's saying.
Although we would have been done with it by now,
Right, and you think it's important to do it for this?
procedurally, but not so much for this application, but because this is a special permit application and our regulations have a process for special permit applications without defining whether they're complex or simple. Just a little stickler to say the regulations say that, so just follow through. That's my comment.
So you would like me to read through all these?
Well, the regulations don't
regulations.
say the commission has to make a specific finding on each thing. This is the special permit decision section I put up on the screen. So once the commission has found that the proposed use of activity meets all the following criteria, special permit shall be approved. So yes, so the commission has to make that finding, but it doesn't need to delineate, number one, it's in compliance with the zoning regulation. Number two, POCD. Number three, offsite impact. You don't need to have that stated. This does not state you have to delineate each one. It just that the commission needs to make the finding.
So. That's the way I read it. It says we have to make a finding on that. It doesn't say we have to delineate them all.
But again, this is your commission, these are your applications. We'll structure it however you'd like.
I'm on board with Doug. I don't think we should go through them. I think if commissioners read through it, and then if they have questions, then you can bring up the specific one, but I don't see a reason why each one needs to be read. If you have a question about one, then bring it up, we can discuss it.
And we did ask John if it met all the criteria for the special permit. And I assume being the zoning enforcement officer that he knows the rules and regulations and would make sure that it meets the required specs.
And again, in this case, many of these things, talk about issues of public safety, landscaping and things like that. And almost nothing physical to the property is changing. So a lot of these, as Amy said, would be, not applicable, but yes. In general.
So we can have, does anybody on the commission have an issue with this special permit we just approved not meet any of these requirements.
You've made your decision. I don't know. if You wanna?
Yeah, I know we made a decision,
Yeah.
but I don't think we can go, there's nothing we can do. But for future reference, I think
Sure.
it need to make sure that all the all the regulations are met and maybe not go through each one individually, but specify that they meets all the special permit application, the application meets all the special permit regs.
Mhm.
And then if there's any that people have issues with, we should bring it up. Does that sound,
Not for nothing, but shouldn't that get brought up anyway?
huh?
Shouldn't that get brought up anyway before we even get to that part? If you have a problem with some part of it?
Well, we can't really do
Hearing-
anything till, we can't comment on it till this public hearing.
No, I understand that.
So, I mean, that.
Right, but that's,
Hopefully,
right.
the zoning enforcement officer is making sure that all these issues are covered before it gets to the public hearing, so it doesn't get hammered in the public hearing and turned down. That would be my take on it, right? Is that correct, John?
Yes, well, to a certain extent, there's special permit is, by its nature, a judgment call. So, I mean, there are certain things that are objective, has the sign been posted? Has the neighbor been alerted? Is the use allowed in the zone? There are yes and no questions. There are questions in the special permit criteria that are judgment calls, like, will this create an adverse traffic impact, which is a matter of expertise and opinion, but that is not a strict, checkbox by the zoning officer. That is why these applications come to you as commissioners for your judgment. So yeah, there are certain things. Did he pay his fee? Did he post a notice? That sort of thing we can cover. But there are judgment calls, and that's the purpose of the special permit, and that's what we would go through together.
So we will, on our next public hearing, which is next month or next meeting?
Next month, the second meeting in September, which is a text amendment. It is not a special permit, it's a text amendment.
Text amendment, okay, but there's still a public hearing on that, right?
Correct, but it's a different set of judgment
Different
criteria.
set of thing. Okay. So we will have to make note of that for our next special permit public hearing. So that brings us to, citizens' comments, any other citizen comments?
Yes. Ray Morgan, resident. Last meeting you had, it was brought up about scenic roads. Everybody had kind of like a dead look on their face. So this is on you guys' paper, on your webpage, and what I'm asking for is if we can put it into the minutes. I just want to give you a copy. What I did with this is basically, and ran out of eight, one on every table, but, basically, it's coming off of the webpage, on your ordinance on scenic road, and also, what had been done to some of the scenic road before process, and that's all that is. I know, I had talked, and everybody, it's a big story in town, everybody is looking at it, and I know it's a slow process, so that's all I can do. It's like, I know now we have to wait and do everything we can, just to make everything right, that's all I have.
Yes, so,
Yeah, that's, thank you.
thank you. Yes,
By way of introduction, I'm Wendy Costa, and I'm the vice chair of the Commission on Aging in Woodstock. And as I think most of you know, we just sent out a townwide survey around aging in Woodstock. 8 domains of livability, which housing is one of them. We have a lot of work left to do to analyze all the data, but one thing that is very clear from the responses is that the majority of people want to remain in Woodstock for the rest of their lives. But the majority of people feel that those options don't exist in Woodstock for housing. So I came because I'm obviously interested in all the conversations around multifamily, alternative housing arrangements, taking the bigger houses and repurposing them and that sort of thing. As we get more into the analysis of the data, I'm happy to bring back our, what we've learned and whatever. You will be invited to the community conversations that we're going to have to try and delve more into what the people mean by what they want to do. What do they mean by not wanting to have these big houses anymore? But just wanted to let you know.
Great, thank you very much. Any other comments? That brings us to communications, in the ZEO report.
Okay, so hopefully everyone got a copy of the ZEO report. I believe it was distributed prior to the meeting, and then there were copies available here. I'm happy to answer any questions. The basic zoning permits are at the top, a couple, just a bond, a couple of commission applications, some enforcement notes, 3 bits of correspondence were sent for zoning enforcement of a request for compliance for Rusty Relic relative to their music, a notice of violation on an unpermitted chicken coop that was placed basically almost right on the road on Child Hill Road. That's been moved, and a complaint against the unauthorized activity on a scenic road by Mr. Sheldon. He received a notice of violation, I believe, last week. And we will be looking forward to his permit for activity on a scenic road to come in the next month to planning and zoning. I also had a conversation with Ken Rappaport at Woodstock Sustainable Farms. You may recall he had a special permit for events there approved last winter. I believe it was January, February 2024. One of the conditions was returning to the commission with essentially an annual report about the number and attendance of the activities that were held there. Mr. Rappaport will be compiling that and submitting that to the commission. And then just some other general stuff I'm meeting with the Planet Conservation and Development, responding to some complaints with no activity necessary, and some folks that are looking to buy Chamberlain Lake Campground and had a lot of questions. And so I responded to a bunch of emails about that. So it was a fairly busy month, and happy to answer any questions that commissioners may have.
Anybody have any questions for John? Hearing none. Move forward to the budget report. Can you put that up on the screen, John?
Yeah, if you give me a second, I didn't have that as part of my set of things. Where's the budget report? Give me a second. I think Tracy had sent. Oh wait, no, maybe it's on the website. Just a second. Yeah, here we go.
So
Can you see that? Okay, so this is revenue. And I believe on the second page is expenditures.
Yeah, so I mean, that's. Well, our
So the
cost-
POCD balance is just under 13,000 as of the end of June.
A lot of those expenditures get reimbursed with the notices and stuff, I believe. Any questions on the budget report? One thing before we move to number 12. There's been some conflict with whether or not we're getting, with the towns move to having just email of the agendas and all the packets and not printing them out and not sending them to us. I can understand they're not mailing them to us. A lot of people like the printed copies. I understand it's a cost saving issue and it's a time issue. I talked to Tracy about it. She spent a tremendous amount of time, collating and printing and getting everything out. So I have not talked to Chandler. I haven't talked to, when I was in the office, John was out. So it was a cost saving move to just go straight to the not printing out anything for it. This goes across the town. Everybody's just getting emails for the packets and not.
Yeah, for instance, the Wetlands Commission has been that way for several years now.
So
What are the wetlands packages, as far as quantity of paper versus, the planning and zoning?
They can be pretty voluminous depending on drainage reports, depending on, soil conditions reports. Every document is loaded up and is available on the town website and is clickable on demand.
Understood. What about when it comes to maps and, delineating properties or looking at developments, in regard to that, it seems like it'd be a lot easier looking at a full-size plan
Mhm.
rather than something on a laptop.
Well, there's pluses and minuses, and obviously I understand preferences, and I am a, at heart, a paper person also. For site development plans, I do agree that in live meetings, it's often useful to roll out a big piece of paper. And we can continue to do that. Applicants can provide, 3-4 copies that we can spread out and share amongst the commission. Chandler's memo really dealt with leaving the responsibility of making copies and distributing hard copies to the commission to staff, which is perceived as a significant waste of time and resources. But yeah, if you've got an applicant with a site plan, they can bring some copies. That is not a hardship. And on the other hand, when you are looking at a site plan digitally, you have infinite capacity to zoom and zoom in on very small features and property corners and things like that. Whereas if you only had hard copies, you'd be holding it up, 1.5 inches from your face. So there are some advantages to digital copies as well. But yeah, for site plans, that's something that applicants can continue to bring in live.
Doug,
John, don't our regulations require that the applicant provide us with 10 or 12 copies of their application? It's in subdivisions.
Yeah, there is
Where I'm
a
getting
there is
to it.
there is a big number.
Yeah, when you get into a subdivision or a major project, it's nice to see the full-size package.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where I come from. And I understand that we don't want the townspeople wasting the time printing and copying things. But I think our regulations require the applicant to provide that information.
Right. I mean, the regulations were also written basically before PDFs became widespread and haven't been updated since then, but that's a
The
later
difficulty,
conversation.
John, difficulty with John is, I'm not young. I was raised with paper. When I went to school, we were given paper, we reviewed it. That's the way I process information. I struggle with a little screen. I see a young man next to me using his iPhone to look at the agenda. I can't do that. My eyesight just,
Don't want to.
and he doesn't want to. And I know there's got to be some middle ground here. Otherwise, we're all going to end up bringing our laptops in, and then.
You're welcome to bring your laptop in.
Yeah, well, then you
I
can.
believe
pay me the cost of my
your
laptop.
newest commissioner across the hall from you there, or across the way from you, does have her laptop with her. I could be mistaken.
Is this Aaron? Yeah, well, there's probably a good 20 years difference between us. And he's grown up on that laptop. And I clearly have lots of computer skills, but I still like to read a newspaper.
Yeah.
And that's the way we process information.
yes, Joseph?
Yeah, if I might suggest, this sounds more like an issue to address with the Board of Selectmen,
Mhm.
because the budgeting issue, then we have to come up with some ways to help address a budget issue. Whether it's something that the commission itself gets an idea of what it costs the town to do this and build that into a budget for our annual request. Or some other methods to allow for printed copies. I'm still concerned that doing everything digitally will not be as effective. For me, is looking at hard copies. I've heard from other commissioners that hard copies are still a preference. We've heard this, we've been asked about this for a number of years to, if not avoid the mailing of packets, eventually to go to digital. And in each one of those inquiries, it's been the desire of the commissioners to retain hard copies. So perhaps that desire still needs to be made more clear to the Board of Selectmen so that they can understand that it's not just we're stuck in old ways. I think we just find it more suitable and easier to evaluate applications when we can look at large scale documents. So again, I think it's really an issue for the Board of Selectmen as opposed to trying to decide it here.
Mhm.
And
It is indeed. I am staff. I don't make policy. I administer policy.
So I guess I just object to the select person just sending us the information saying that we're going to digital without even asking commissioners for the comments ahead of time. You have a lot of volunteers here that have tremendous expertise. They donate that time to the town to help work on these commissions. I think common courtesy would say that the select person or people should at least give us a little bit of notice and say, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna give you 3 months. We're gonna give you 6 months, just to say, and then get a nasty gram back saying we're trying to go around. They're frosting me off, quite honestly. And I told myself I wasn't gonna get upset about it tonight, but I am upset about it. And it wasn't anything about trying to go on around the person. Someone asked, well, if you'd like a copy, we can make one. So I said, yes.
Yeah.
And then I get a nasty gram back saying, don't go around harassing the staff. I'm not. There was I responded correctly.
You don't wanna be a robot.
I understand we can move towards electronic paper. I'm doing it in my own office. And maybe that's why I'm retiring. So my younger staff is very good with that. And I'm working on it.
Well, it seems to me that the more we try to go paperless, it seems to flow more paper. The other thing, to kind of beat that horse that Doug's been on, it's been the selectman's office that said that this town runs on volunteers.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if we could put in a request for something that we need.
Yep.
How much revenue was taken in by the town for permits and other things in the building department to defer some of this cost of the paper?
Well, the building department itself is a revenue center. Planning and zoning is not.
The building department is not a revenue center, and that's not true.
Well,
The
it
department
is.
has to cover, they can charge building permit fees based to cover their expenses. The state of Connecticut does not have a right to generate fees off building permits.
I'd like to suggest that maybe the chair of the commission contact the Board of Selectmen to see if we can arrange a discussion with the selectmen to pursue this a little bit more.
Okay.
Get some clarity.
And I'm all set with electronic. I will learn to do it. I just wanted to voice my concerns about it. Just, let's work back and forth.
Great.
It certainly seems like an application we need to have in our hands. You know, maybe the agendas and stuff that. But certainly need applications I want to have in my hand.
Plans, maps and things.
Maps, yeah.
Yes.
Even if they wanted to cut stuff down, like I don't need the financial document printed out, I can look at that on my phone, no problem. But when
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at a map, it's a little difficult to do it on, you know, I got the biggest damn
Oh,
phone
yeah,
they
no,
make.
No, I got an iPad.
So. Yes, Joe.
Yeah, and personally, when it comes to maps and subdivisions, I would prefer that they at least give us those ahead of time in paper. Well, simply because there's just so much information that's on that.
Okay, I will, on the committee's recommendation, I will contact the selectman's office.
And maybe invite him here so he
Yeah, I
can
will
hear
invite
directly from
all the
commission.
selectmen,
Pros and
all the
cons.
select people here and
Okay,
say, these are our concerns.
I would also, and I appreciate that, and I'd be happy to participate in those discussions if I'm welcome. I would just also suggest the commission offer contingencies for staff turnover, should that continue.
Okay, point taken. Okay, now I think we are ready to move on to number 12.
I think John had one more item, did you not, John?
Oh, yes. Thank you very, very much, Donna. Yeah, this is part of my, I wanted to raise this as a question that came to me this afternoon. And while I'm doing this, I'll vamp a little bit while I bring up the regulations. I was asked by a commercial broker about cannabis facilities, specifically in the industrial zone. And the zoning regulations are a little bit odd in this way, which is to say the town does allow cannabis facilities of most types, which is to say retailers, hybrid retailers, wholesalers, and micro cultivators. Cultivators, which is facilities larger than, I believe, 15,000 square feet, or are prohibited. Other uses are allowed only in the community district, not in the industrial district, industrial park. And a micro cultivator is basically a facility between 2 and 10,000 square feet, which for some reason was omitted from the industrial park regulations. So if, and you know, some might say the most appropriate place for something like that would be in an industrial facility away from core residential areas. But that was not included as part of the regulations. And so I wanted to just get a little institutional history if any of the commissioners were involved with the crafting of those regulations, and to basically ask informally if the commission would has any reason not to entertain a potential text amendment to the regulations that would include microcultivator cannabis facilities in the industrial park by a special permit, where they do not currently find themselves allowable. If I made that question clear.
If I can comment on that.
Yeah, I think most of us are here, and I guess, go ahead, do it.
So I believe that was included to exclude that because Peak Brook is not really a feasible road for a large amount of traffic, was our thought. Especially because when those regulations were drawn up, that bridge was in horrible repair. It has since been replaced. But that was pretty much the main reasoning, was for not including the industrial park, was due to the traffic on Peak Brook Road. If I recall our discussion correctly.
Oh,
Did
that,
that have something to do with distance from the school too?
I think
Yeah.
Peak Brook's past that.
Okay. Yeah, there is, I mean, in the cannabis regulations themselves, there are separation distances that would, you know, apply to any facility of the separation distances from churches, schools, and that sort of thing. Okay.
But are they just looking to do a grow, or are they looking to sell there too?
I don't have any further information.
Okay. That could make a difference on whether or not I think we'd be open to a text amendment for that. At least.
Okay.
It would make a difference to me.
Good. Okay.
yeah, I think we pretty much excluded all growing, didn't we?
No.
No.
No?
A micro cultivator.
Just, okay,
Only larger scale cultivator.
only the large scale one, okay, gotcha.
So there is some retail allowed in the business park currently, retail warehouse. So there is anticipated some customer interface, and obviously Crabtree used to have a store there.
Yeah,
But okay, if there's nothing else, I appreciate the feedback. I'll pass it on to the realtor. Thank you, Donna.
Which is, if I recall correctly, it was like right when all the ones in Massachusetts just started opening, they were busy as hell, and everybody was concerned about that happening here. And that's kind of why I think that was limited it to pretty much the main roads.
Yeah,
Well, because of business, the traffic would be on main road, trying to keep it on state roads.
Okay.
How much traffic's generated by one of those things? Not a lot. If it's a micro cultivator, like. what are they-
Well, I know, yeah, I think we were thinking more along the lines of, retail.
Yeah, that I could see. Okay.
I don't know if anyone, there's a relatively new one on 74 in Ashford, Zen something or other. I drive past that probably twice a day. I've seen one car in the parking lot. There's almost nobody there ever. It's really interesting.
No, and I think our lack of knowledge of the systems led to some of that too, just, not knowing enough about it to separate out maybe a micro growing facility that wasn't doing retail there. So, I mean, I think that's was our concern, was the retail side and creating a lot of traffic. So, I mean, it's not gonna create a lot of traffic. I mean, we might reconsider a text amendment to change that, to allow a facility in our industrial park, as long as it meets all the regs we had on. I can't, I couldn't find this.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, to see what we actually ended up with. It's been a while since we did that.
Okay, I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, I just wanted to be responsive, and because the realtor said she would be interested in talking with the commission, but wasn't available this evening, so I said I'd ask the question. So thank you.
Well, if she does want to come, give us a heads up so we can make sure we have the regulations in front of us and.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, anything else, John? You all set?
Nothing else for me.
I think we're ready to move to number 12, move to adjourn. Got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention, so moves.